my eye. Through the mist, my surprise shone light from distant northern skies. At that point, I realized I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. If this is all an illusion, then I'm willing to play.
Welcome to the Quantum Guide Show, interviews with awakened masters as they share their quantum work with you. The Quantum Guide Show is produced by Karen Holton, creator of the 9 Steps to Quantum Health Transformation, a free 9-step online course to give you the tips and resources you need to thrive. Karen lost and continues to keep off 178 pounds of surplus body weight as she made her dreams come true. Whether you are awakening to the ascension process or simply want a wiser, more efficient lifestyle, this program is for you. No strings attached. The Quantum Guide Show is brought to you in part by Zendome's Orgonite, Karen's unique brand of orgone generators, ethically sourced, handmade, and double charged for maximum effect. Find out how orgone generators work and what they can do for you. Don't be fooled by imitations. Check out Karen's current selection, only available from her website, KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com, and on Facebook, facebook.com/Quantum Health Transformation. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. Our guest today is Debbie A. Anderson. Born in England, Debbie is a natural healer who has worked in the magical sphere of spirituality all her life. She is a clairvoyant medium who now lives in Canada and has been doing intuitive spiritual readings for more than 35 years around the world. She has 4 beautifully designed and acclaimed Oracle and Affirmation decks that began appearing in 2013. Debbie's Vibrational Energy for adults and Vibrational Earth Children for inner child and children are globally distributed, and her 2 new affirmation decks, I Am Vibrational and I Am Sacred, are meeting with equal success. 3 of these decks are also available as downloadable mobile apps. Today, Debbie is also one of the leading authorities sharing her take on spirit, the journey within, and connecting with angels, guides, guardians, and helpers who are there to assist all of us on our spiritual journey when we're open to receive their messages. Debbie A. Anderson is going to share some insights, tips, and ways in which we can all connect to spirit and acknowledge how easy it is to do this on a daily basis. Debbie teaches many vibrational courses and workshops around the world. She is a motivational speaker and loves the way spirit keeps opening and evolving her pathway. You can listen in on her weekly reading on YouTube and connect on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can find out more at www.vibrationalenergy.com. And all the links will be in the description box below. You can listen. Oh, sorry. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce Debbie, and so that she can tell you about how she sees dead people and how this assists ones with their journey. Hi, Debbie. How are you doing today?
Hi, Karen. I'm doing very well. It's funny. I was having a conversation with somebody earlier, and I said, I used to skirt around what I did with people because to some people it's like, no, I don't want to know. But now I openly say, I see dead people. I'm a clairvoyant medium. And of course, it's sometimes like going to visit a proctologist. You really don't want to hear the rest of it. So for some people, that's exactly as it is. And usually at that point, I'll close the conversation. But a lot of people sort of say to me, so what do you see around me? And I'm one of those people that anybody that knows me is I love laughter, I love joy, and I love sharing. And I could have so much badness that could come out of me and go, do you really want to know what I see around you? So you know, I joke about those things, but I do take my work very, very seriously. And, you know, at that point, usually say to somebody, you know, there's lots of things going around all of us all the time, because our guides, angels, and helpers are all there to help us.
Oh,
So,
yes.
you know, if you want to know more, come see me. Because this is not a light conversation that just happens as we happen to be walking around doing our grocery shopping. So, you know, those kind of things that I try and sort of let people know that, you know, in a fun way. So, and anybody that knows me that knows that I love laughter, I love seeing the fun side. And we've already had that with our pre-show chat, that we've enjoyed some laughter already. So thank you, Karen. I'm really blessed to be here.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so grateful that you came on the show. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about your background, Debbie.
Yeah, well, like every journey, it starts somewhere. And although mine started when I was around about the age of 4, my parents were going through divorce. My twin brothers, who were, I think they're 2-3 years younger than me. Isn't it awful? I get to that delicate age now where time just transmutes into everything else. Anyway, we all went to my grandparents' house to live there for a while. And my grandparents, now I was born in 1957. So in those days, children were seen and not heard. And that was very much how my grandfather especially felt about small children. And of course, I was the eldest and I could run around and do things. So it was like, shh, be quiet all the time. Shh, be quiet all the time. So I got very much used to that. And initially when spirit came through to me, it was not the bells and whistles and, as I say, glory be to God on high with bands of angels and all enlightenment and love. It was quite scary because nobody had explained to me what spirit was and how this worked and who they are and all of those kind of things. Because I was in an age where that wasn't like today, where we have so much wonderful information, shows like yours, where people can learn about this. And so, of course, I'm in bed, sleeping, and all of a sudden it feels like somebody had switched the light on in the bedroom. My mum wasn't there. So I thought, oh, mum's come to bed now, and she switched on the light to get undressed to go to bed. And I looked at the end of my grandmother's bed, which we were sleeping in. My mum and I were sharing a bed, and the whole of the room was lit up with this light, and the ceiling had peeled back, and all these little ethereal bodies were coming and sitting on the end of my grandmother's bed, because in those days they had headboards and bedboards, or what do they call footboards. And so of course I didn't know what that meant, and you know, to see these bright lights there, I just screamed, as small children do. My mum did come up and she opened the door and she said, "What's going on?" I'm seeing these lights and the ceiling's peeling back, and you know, as a sobbing 4-year-old would do. And my mom was like, "Just go back to sleep, you're having a nightmare." So they had tried, spirit had tried that a couple of times. As I say, it wasn't the best beginning of the journey. So after that, they moved to the fact that in my quietness of playing in my grandparents' house, I would have, you know, little girls do their dollies and tea parties and teddies and things like that. So I was constantly talking to them and realizing now that actually it was spirit communicating back with me. I thought this was a natural thing that everybody did. So of course, there were, like every journey, there's different pivotal points along it, and mine was, you know, came when I was about 11 or 12 years of age, when I was coming home from school on the bus, and I was up on the top of a double-decker bus and looked down out of the window, and I saw this beautiful being there. You know, I brought up in a Christian household where we went to church on Sunday and the kids went to Sunday school and things like that. So, you know, I leap up out of my chair and say, look, there's Jesus. So, you know, and for any of us that have been on public transport and somebody does that, we are always very cautious. And of course, I didn't have the purple and blue hair then, and I was a lot younger. So sadly, it got back to my mother that I had an outburst on the school bus, or on the bus coming home from school. And my the next steps from my mom was she took me to see a psychiatrist. And those days in the UK, you did not want to go and see a psychiatrist. So spirit actually jumped the gun, as it were, and basically said, look, kid, just pretend you've made all this up. I'm like, but I have conversations with you and I know this stuff and I tell people things, and then I get into trouble. I don't understand all this. Why does this keep happening to me? And they're like, you just have to pretend that you made it all up, which I, you know, at 11 years of age, I sort of said to my mom, you know, when we got to the psychiatrist, and she said, so I hear you're hearing people and you say that they're dead people. And I said, no, I was just making it up to get attention from my mom. And of course, mom went berserk, as parents would, you know, like any mom. And so I shut it down. So there were things that had happened during my childhood where I would say profound things to people, information that I wouldn't know. And of course, I didn't understand why some people would react really badly to it or tell me to stop being such a silly child or go off and do what I was supposed to do. And I had done tarot readings. I don't even know. Somebody asked me that actually. How did you come across your first tarot deck? And I can't remember. I think somebody either gave it to me or I found it in a jumble sale or something like that in the bad stuff in the church, because jumble sales were usually in the church. And I would do readings for people without, you know, knowing what they meant, and just did it as something fun. So of course, when these things kept happening to me, when I at that point shut down, I'm like, okay, why does this keep happening? And this is why I try and say to people, look, in your lifetime, there are maybe pivotal points or times when you're supposed to let this out, and times when maybe it's not quite right because of what's going on. So of course it would come and go, but I always had these conversations, whether you call it prayers at night time. When I would go to sleep, I'd always say my prayers. And of course now I still say my prayers, but in the form of gratitude. Of every night before I fall asleep, I always say, you know, thank you for this that happened today, thank you for that, and all of these blessings, whether it's the food I put in my belly, or the, you know, the fact it was raining or sunshine, or somebody had done something great, you know, that I could see was a reflection of love and gratitude. So I still say my prayers. And of course, in those days when I would say my prayers and speak to spirit, it was like this union I would have without having to know they were there. So when I got married to my first husband, it wasn't a great journey when I was connected with spirit, because he felt very jealous, and that was such a shame. So it was shut down. And then I went on I decided to do a course to go and learn how to read the tarot properly and get a certificate. In those days, of course, in the 70s, that was something you wanted to do. And I went to this course, and I was finding out very quickly that I was not reading tarot the way other people read tarot. But, you know, as I say to people, when you go on a workshop, you go somewhere, or, you know, you feel drawn to something, follow that journey, because it may not be why you're there. It may not be because of that. And I quickly learned that it wasn't because of the tarot course and getting the certificate. I was there so I could connect with other like-minded people that were also working and doing readings and things the way I was doing it. So that was a beautiful part of that. So, you know, I always say to people, there are no dead ends. It's just another pathway. Because that's how it opens up. And when we invite that into our journey, then we can't make any mistakes because there isn't a mistake. We don't make it. So I was very blessed at that time when I met these folks. We would meet once a week and we would read a book, or somebody would go on a course and workshop. And of course, it's way before internet. And we would read people like Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer, and, you know, somebody would come along and say, hey, I've tried this, or let's try psychometry. And so we learned that way, sort of by osmosis, I suppose, from somebody else sort of tearing it down to us. Then one of the people in our little group get together said, hey, there's this great place in Essex, in Stansted in Essex, and this is in England, called the Arthur Findlay College. And I think it was called then the Arthur Findlay College of Metaphysics, because they really, or the spiritualists, because at that time they only did mediumship and healing in their teachings, and now they have this whole spectrum of classes and training that you can do if you go there. So it's a wonderful place, and I know there are many across the world that offer these things. So for me, it was like going home, because you know, we all know that whatever pathway we choose, whether we love you know, doing crafting, or we love knitting, or we love cooking, when we're put amongst people of that same passion, if you like, that same exploration, it ignites us. It gives us that sort of zzz that comes up inside of us. And that's what that did. And for me, it was that knowing that there was something more than just me, than our small little group. Here were people from across the world that had come to this college to learn all these different things, and to be able to be with some of the amazing mediums and healers of the day that sadly now, as time has gone by, passed into spirit, but to have experienced them and to heard and listened to them, and to have, you know, been in places that Arthur Conan Doyle and you know, all of those spiritual people had been. It was just an amazing journey, an absolutely amazing journey.
Oh, sounds wonderful. I'm just wondering, Debbie, was there a pivotal point where you had an experience with spirit that you want to tell us about what that was like going back?
Yeah, it was. It was actually, this was later. I was married and I had my son at that time. And I was going through some very dark, we talked about this earlier, about going and visiting that shadow self. And I was going through a very dark period in my life where I was feeling lost. And we've all been there at some point. Nobody's had that perfect angelic experience where everything has always been, what as I call it, buttercups and sunshine. We've all had those darker days where things have come through. And at that time, I didn't know what to do. And I had to go and do a lot of what I call soul searching in myself to pull myself beyond that, to understand that there's a greater thing. And what I loved about that particular sharing, and I'm hopeful it will, the reason I picked it is because I'm hopeful it will help a lot of people, especially at this time in our world, is that I was feeling like I couldn't see the way forward. You know, that joke about, you know, if the light goes on, you know, no, my luck, it'll be a train coming in the tunnel back at me and I'm going to be knocked out anyway. You know, they always say the light at the end of the tunnel. But at that point, spirit, basically, I went, as I call it, deep into the abyss, and I needed to just stay there. I needed to cry. I needed to wash away, if you like, my sins, as you know, that was a recall from the Bible, but it's not. It's washing away all the pain that was there, and getting deep into myself. And you know, some people say that it's that point where we hit ground zero, and it was for me. I'd gone into that abyss. I had punished myself. I was, you know, fighting with myself. I thought that spirit was a waste of time, and why couldn't you solve my problems for me? Why couldn't you have made it all buttercups and sunshine? And after I'd done all that, it was so funny because I felt like there was this huge silence that came over me. And it was like, okay, tell me what I'm supposed to do. Give me some direction. And it was like more silence. And I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not a patient person. And I'm like, come on, just give it to me. You're like, what do I got to do? Because if not, I'm out of here, kind of thing. And again, I cried. And this is, I think, something that we need to all do, is like to wash ourselves clean, get the pain out. Because when we keep it suppressed inside of us, it causes all that dis-ease and discomfort and all of those other dis-words, as I call them. And I heard this voice from spirit, and they said, if we could switch on the light in your life right in this moment, and you could see forward and you could see everything around you, you wouldn't be standing here complaining. You wouldn't be standing here being so upset with things. Just move forward as you're supposed to. You're always in the right place. And this is just part of the journey. When I heard that, for me, you know, there was part of me going, and now what am I supposed to do? Which came up eventually after that, because that's a human thing about us. But it was the truth that when we're in that darkness, because we can't see what's ahead of us and we can't see what's around us, if we realize, and this is where I always go back to the beautiful poem Footprints. because it was so much there. It's like, you know, those are the times when I carried you. Those are the times when everyone was there just putting their love towards you, even if I was trying to push it away, which I was at that time in my life, because I wanted a solution to the problem that was happening. And I didn't feel I could find it. But when I heard that, it was like, okay, thank you. So anytime now I go into what I call those dark stages in my life, because we do get hit with the proverbial fan exploding around us. Excuse me. So, you know, people say, well, you have such a perfect life. Don't ever say that to anybody, because everybody has shifts and things going on at different times. And I always look at it this way, that sometimes there are what I call earth angels that come into our life at a particular time when we're going through the car, and they either say something or do something, or they're just there. And that is when spirit has sent them. You know, earlier on this week, I was having a bit of an iffy day, as I call it. And I call it an iffy day because it wasn't a bad day. It wasn't a good day. It was just like everything was coming up and I was having to deal with it. And, you know, you get to that point, it's like, okay, enough. I'm done. I'm going to switch off my laptop. I'm going to walk away and do something else. And that was what I was about to do. And this little message pinged in, and somebody had put on there, I signed up for your newsletter, and I am so thankful because your free meditation that you offer with it is helping me every night to drift off to sleep. And I feel so blissful. So thank you for that. That's what I'm saying about sometimes we get these messages or we hear something. And I thought, thank you, Spirit. Thank you for giving this to me in my humanness to go, you know, so today was an iffy day. Things didn't quite go the way you wanted, but here's somebody that really appreciates the work that you do. And I think this is for all of us, not just for light workers. This is for mum at home that's raising her family, for grandma that's out there, for the guy that picks up our garbage. You know, all of those are the people that come together in our world to make us who we are. That sometimes we all need that. And, you know, if you find that you become an earth angel, as I say to people, that sometimes I'll, you know, say something to somebody out of the blue and they're like, I thank you so much. I was feeling so down today. You've really raised my spirits.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's just fantastic.
It's beautiful, and we can all do that. We can open a door for somebody. We can help somebody with their groceries. We can, you know, be there, even if it's just to put a smile on our face, just say, you know what, the sun's shining, we're 6 foot above ground. That's a good day.
And this is how we change the world.
Yes, it is.
This is how we move on to a new positive timeline, just one little step at a time.
Yep. I always say baby steps. We don't have to take, we don't have to take leaps and bounds to achieve everything in one day. Truly, we don't.
Could we touch back on some of the obstacles you faced coming out with your process? I really admire your courage in admitting that, you know, your parents were concerned and took you to see a psychiatrist. I myself stuck fairly closely to fundamentalist Christian religion for a lot of my life because I knew I needed help, and I thought I didn't know any better. I thought that's where I would go for help. I also, you know, several times had issues with mental health, you know, depression, anxiety, things like that. And I often went to, not often, but, you know, every couple of years would maybe check in with a mental health expert. And my guides told me very clearly not to disclose. Do not disclose. And, you know, that makes sense because the person who is helping, the helping professional, let's call them that, they can only go where they can go. If they are not introduced to the spirit world, to the metaphysical world, to the paranormal world, they have no option but to think we're a little bit maybe nutty.
Psychotic or
exactly. And so at this point, I know this is a little off topic, but what is your advice to people who are having these wonderful, beautiful, in my opinion, healthy experiences? They get scared, or the people around them think they want to help them, issue them, get them into the psychiatric end, which is quite the industry. And then they're on all kinds of pills that sort of shut that all down. What is your take on that,
of course,
Debbie?
this is where I step into that void of not being an expert on depression, psychotic possible interludes that I know that some people have said, well, actually, my son or daughter or whoever does have them. I don't think it's spirit. I think it's the other side. In those cases, you know, I always say to people, the rule of heart, every time, do you feel that this is spirit talking to you, communicating with you, your ancestors, your angels, your guides, guardians? And if you do, then accept that as is. If you feel that there's outside voices that are telling you to go clean your guns or something like that, then yes, maybe that is a good time to talk to somebody, to share those inner fears or concerns and be assisted in some way that is going to be suitable for you. But because I knew I'd been speaking to spirit for so many years that this was what was happening, I basically took it on the chin. And you've got to remember, in the 1960s, which this would have been in the UK, if people came forward and I had said, yes, I was hearing voices in my head and I had seen Jesus Christ and all of those kind of things, the chances are I'd have been locked up into this lovely padded room wearing a white jacket. And in those days, in mental institutions in the UK, many people were locked up and left there. And some had some awful things done to them. And I don't want to go into that realm, but, you know, from my perspective as a child, I took it on the chin. Now, this is where anybody that is seeing spirit or opening up and hearing the voices, I always say to anybody when they're on this journey anyway, because people say, well, I felt this sense of somebody in behind me the other day. And it wasn't a real person. I said, well, what would you do if it was a human person behind you? You would say, hey, who are you? What do you want? And so I invite people to ask those questions. Like, who is it? The chances are it'll be somebody from your family initially that comes close to you because they love you. They want to take care of you. And that's why when people say, well, you know, dad passed into spirit or mom passed into spirit, and, you know, all of a sudden I saw a squirrel or a butterfly or whatever, do you think it's them? And I say to people, do you think it's them? And this again, I always try and get people, this is why if everybody realizes that you're psychic, we just haven't used that skill set for some time for some people. A bit like riding the bike. You know, I rode a bike as a small child. I had to learn how to ride that bike. And now if I got back on the bike, I'd be little bit wobbly, maybe fall off a couple of times before I got my balance. So it's like building that muscle up again. So if you, you know, I always say to people, if you think it's mom, or, you know, when you see this, who do you think of first of all? You know, if you see the butterfly or you see the squirrel, what's the first name that comes into your mind, or what's the first thought that comes into your mind? And this is how we build on our psychic abilities, because what's happening there is we're connecting. We're asking questions in the respect of, is it you, mom? Is it you, dad? Now, I'm very blessed. You know, my dad, before he passed into spirit, we had many conversations way before he was on what I call death's door with his disease. But my twin brothers hadn't. And so dad and I had conversations, you know, because I said to him, you know, when you pass into spirit at that time, whenever it should be, the destination, you and I will continue to communicate. And when he was going through the last, basically, days of his death, my brothers and I had lots of conversations about this communication with spirit, because you know, my family always saw me, and I joke about this, but it is the truth. My mum would introduce me to people as she's one of them. Now, I'm really not sure what one of them is, but she would always put it into that sort of context. She tells fortunes and things, which I don't, but I'm one of them. So And of course, my brothers never really asked me much on what I did. And as we grew older and further apart, as it were, in our family, it was only with Dad's death, oncoming death, that the three of us got back together again and started to have these deeper conversations. And one of my twin brothers was caregiver to my dad. And what was so beautiful was the journey he was taking, because he was starting to ask questions about things that Dad and I were talking about when I went over to spend time with him before he passed into spirit. And he said, but you're talking about this, what does that mean? And Dad was saying that he could see this, what does that mean? So it opened up a beautiful journey for the three of us, or for the four of us, because Dad was part of that journey as well. And after Dad passed to spirit, both of my brothers got various visitations from my father, which they could only accept as him coming back to connect with them. So there's two, what I would say, non-believers in that short time of them asking the question. This is where we can't force anything upon somebody. This has to be when they start asking the questions, we're ready and open to answer them. But, you know, it's like anything, like as a kid, you know, you're forced to eat broccoli. I don't want to eat broccoli. So you're going to do everything in your avoidance to eat broccoli. I actually love broccoli, but you know, we've all done that. Let me put some ketchup on it. Let me hide it under here, or let me mince it up. We'll try all those ways to get it into them. But if they're not ready to receive it, then you're wasting your energy. So this is what I say to people, going back to your question about if somebody is not sure because they're hearing the voices, connecting with spirit, and they're offered up to go and see somebody, try and talk to a counselor or somebody that is going to be a little bit more open. Maybe a spiritual counselor, whether it's through a church or through some other form that you're going to feel comfortable with.
Less medical.
Yeah, less medical. And I'm not saying anything against medical, because they're there, they have a purpose, but somebody that has maybe gone through this themselves can guide other people. You know, I know many years ago when I helped at hospice that they invite mediums and light workers to come along and help, because they know of this transition that the not only the person's making into spirit, but those that are left behind, because there are questions coming up, you know, and some of them are not questions that can be had openly. But if there's somebody there doing Reiki or some kind of hands-on healing or some spiritual work, it allows them to have that conversation and go to the level that they feel comfortable with. And again, it's align yourself with people that are open to this journey, your spiritual journey, because that's also very important. Because there were many people in my life, my ex-husband, for instance, that thought it was a load of baloney and that I needed psychiatric help as an adult, because it frightened him. And that's okay. So we have to align ourselves with people that it's not about feeling good, but we can feel openly, we can have these conversations. You know, I always say supported. Yeah, and feel supported. I always say there's sort of certain conversations you just don't have openly to do with politics, religion, and death. You know, some people aren't open to have those conversations. So again, choose the people or align yourself to people in your life that you feel you can trust to have that conversation with.
It sounds also a bit like you're saying we all have this God-given potential.
We do.
It's just basically whether or not we want to use it, exercise. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we're all born psychic, and you've only got to be around children up to around about the age of 8, and sometimes it's 6, 7, or 8. And sometimes it's 8, 9, and 10. But you know, they can sometimes say profound things, and I mean profound things as far as, you know, I just spoke to a man and he told me this, you know, the kind of things I would do as a kid. Now we're a lot more open, and yes, there are some religious structures that don't invite this in, but because we have it in there, when we get to around about 7 or 8, sometimes we close it down, or it, as people say, it's lost. Well, it isn't. Nothing's ever lost, you know. The button that you can't find that was on your jacket, it's somewhere. You just got to remember where it's transcended to. So we all have it within us regardless, and whether we put it on hold or not. But the one thing that I always say to people is we all have a guardian angel. We all have that. And whether it's somebody from our family, whether it's a ethereal being that is angelic, whether it's Archangel Michael or one of the grand masters, as I call them, you know, we all have that. And that's when we get those inner thoughts. And I call it a thought because some people say, well, don't say it's a psychic thing. So we get those inner thoughts, like we've all done it. We think of somebody that we haven't seen in a long, long time, and then all of a sudden we either hear from them or bump into them, or something transpires from it. And I always say that's like our little guardian angel whispering in our ear, hey, remember Karen? I wonder how she's doing. And we can't always assume it's something bad, because a lot of people go, oh, I heard. And I'm like, come on. It may be just that she wants to connect with you, and this is spirit saying, hey, she's going to connect with you. You know, also people that get those instinctive reasons not to catch a plane that day, you know, or were guided in a different direction. I know myself many years ago when I was driving to work when I was working in corporate world, this one particular day, I could not find my car keys. We lived in a 2-bedroom flat in England. It was very easy to go through the rooms and find something. And they ended up being exactly where I started looking, but it put me half an hour late. Well, that half an hour late probably saved my life, because there was an awful train crash that when the barriers didn't go down and a car got hit. It was on the same direction. I can't say for sure, but I was kept out of that. Those are those moments where I'm very, very thankful. Just as a person that, you know, we've all done it. We stepped off the curb and realized, or we stepped off the sidewalk and realized, oh my gosh, you know, there's a vehicle coming. Or we've been led in a different direction. Now, I turn right sometimes. They're like, okay, I'm on a journey. Thank you very much. Or we've ended up in a different coffee shop. We're always pulled or pushed or directed there for a reason. That's our guardian angel. That's our psychic part opening up. And the more we listen to it, and if I hear that I got to eat chocolate cake every single day, then I might question that. Okay, so this is where we have to bring discernment in as well. You know, what is in our comfort zone as it is. But if we start communicating, and we're having these communications and we're listening to them, we're watching the signs, the symbols, the metaphors that are given to us every single time, every single day, that's our psychic opening up. I'll give you another example. I was on my way to do a class locally where I live some years ago. And as I got caught in a hold up, and I'm like, that's okay, I got plenty of time. And all of a sudden I saw a vehicle to the side of me, and I'm like, oh, that reminds me of my friend back in Australia, because in Australia, a lot of the time they have the exhaust over the top of the vehicle. Now in Canada, there are very few vehicles that have that, always underneath. Then I looked over and I saw a truck there with a little kangaroo on it. Like, okay, I'm getting it. I'll give her a call when I get home. And I did. And there wasn't nothing going on per se, but she said, it was funny, I was thinking about you too. So it's obviously time for us to reconnect again. So these are the things when we get them to identify and connect. And some of them can be little splatterings of information like that, or one that I remember when I was a friend of mine who is in England connected me with somebody, and she said, well, she's considering going to live in Canada. Would you, because you live there, you know, give her some insights? I said, sure, okay. And she kept on saying to me, well, I don't know if we should go or not. And she was very spiritually open. And I said to her, well, you know, just be open to what signs that spirit sends you, you know, because they're going to send you signs of whether you should go or whether you should stay in the UK. That's because you've asked the question, should I go or should I stay? So we've invited that up to spirit, and spirit going, yay, great, they've asked, let's help. And she said, well, I don't know if this is a sign. What do you think? I said, oh, share. She said, well, I was driving along. Now, this is in a tiny little village in the UK. And she said, this lorry, as they call them there, truck, came out and it had a big Canadian flag on the back. Do you think that's a sign? And I always say, what do you think? She said, I'm not sure. Now, that was a very blatant sign. But a little while later, she got another sign. She said, I just happened to switch on the TV and there was this whole documentary about Canada. Do you think it's a sign? At that point, I almost wanted to grab hold of her and slap her, and I mean metaphorically. But sadly, she made the decision, and I say sadly, because maybe it was the right decision. She decided to stay in the UK. But she said some time afterwards, I wish I'd followed what I was given. And I said, you know, if you're meant to go and it's meant to happen again, it's going to turn up. And if it isn't, then that window's closed. Maybe there's something else you're supposed to go, because direction you're supposed to go, because we're always on the right pathway. And, you know, when people say, what is my sole purpose? What am I here to do? And I always say, turn up, be present in any single moment, because that's what you're meant to do. And whether that's taking your child to school, doing a class, listening to the radio, going for a walk, these are all things that you're supposed to be doing in that moment. Be present. Because a lot of the time we're not. We're off playing with our phone or distracted with something else. So be there 100% present, because that's when we see things. You know, I was out grocery shopping the other day. Not one of the tasks that I embrace. I have my list. I go to the store. I get everything and I leave. That's it. But my husband wanted to go back in to get something he'd forgotten. So I said, you know, I don't want to go back in again. I'm going to stand outside. And I happened to be walking along, and there were some beautiful roses in pots outside the store. And it was literally that metaphor, take time to smell the roses, because as I moved in, I'm like, oh my gosh, the smells are absolutely beautiful. They're scented roses. So I had my face fully sniffing into all these roses, and people were walking past me in a hurried way to get to them. I'm like, oh my gosh, you should enjoy this. This is so amazing. And some people came and enjoyed it, and some people like, strange lady with purple and blue hair, keep walking. So again, I was in that moment. And when my husband came out, because he said, I couldn't see you. I said, yeah, I was in the roses now. Because that's where I needed to be in that moment there, absorbing it. And I think that's something we all need to be very aware of. You know, if you're spending time with your kids, spend time with your kids. If you're watching a TV program, watch the TV program. You know, be present, be fully there. Don't be distracted by something else you got to do later, because believe it or not, it's always still there. It never goes away. And you are always reminded if it's something important you've got to do.
True that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this might be a good time for you to explain to our viewers the difference between psychic abilities and mediumship, because they're not exactly necessarily related, are they?
Well, they are in the respect that they're probably on the same playing field. And of course, I'm now Canadian, British originally, but I'm now Canadian. So I akin it to a kid that loves playing hockey. Now the kid enjoys hockey. There's two kids. One enjoys the hockey and they're okay at it. It's just fun. It's good to do. And the other kid is pretty good at hockey. So his parents get him a coach. And he practices and practices and keeps practicing. And he hones his skills. And then he goes on to be the next Wayne Gretzky. Okay, so that's the difference between psychic and medium. Everybody is psychic, but not everybody is a medium. If you go on and hone those skills, you have the possibility, the probability of doing that mediumship. So I always look at it this way: if I can get my own answers and help myself, then being psychic is all I need to do. If I want to go on to help others, and I want to hone my skills, and I want to add that to my lifestyle, then go on and be a medium. And of course, I always say they're just words. You know, some people say, well, I'm a psychic medium, or I'm a clairvoyant medium. They're just words. You know, I see dead people, I connect with dead people, and that's my journey. So hopefully that's in an understandable format that people see it for what it actually is. But we all are psychic, and that's something, if we've forgotten that, relearn that skill, because it's there. It's like riding the bike. You just got to dig in and get back on the bike and wobble a bit and see where it takes you.
I would agree with you. Now, I know a lot of our viewers, kind of a knee-jerk reaction is, what about evil spirits? What about bad experiences? Can you speak to that? Have you ever had a really, really negative experience? Or
I can.
How was it for you?
See, here's the thing for me, and this is when we are, everything in our world has a light and a dark, okay, a good and a bad, a night and day, whatever you want to call it. And so, yes, evil does exist. It also exists here in our earthly plane, as we see some of the things that happen and experience that from time to time. But in spirit, this is why I say to anybody that is opening up on this journey, especially as a mediumship and that kind of thing, is you've got to do some basic protection and grounding first. Like my rules of engagement for the work I have done, and I know there are some, I'm old school. I'm proud to be old school. I don't mean it as it's a bad thing, but I'm old school. You know, you would not do any psychedelic or drug-inducing things to work. You wouldn't take any alcohol into your body. You would connect with spirit, your guides, your helpers, first, who create a barrier around you, a protective barrier around you. And if you don't, you know, it's a bit like getting into a car, okay? We all know we get into a car, we put the seatbelt on. That's our protection. We check our mirrors. That's our protection. We've taken our tests. We have our piece of paper that says, I'm legally allowed to drive and I'm safe to drive. We have our insurance. Okay, so we have all those things. Then we put the key in the ignition, or not these days. I've got a keyless car, which is really quite strange. But anyway, and then we drive forward, but we're always doing it with caution. We're always in awareness of what is going on around us. And that is no different when you're doing any psychic work. We have to be in awareness. If something, you know, somebody said to me once, well, I had this angry spirit come to me, and I said, well, did you ask them who they were? And they're like, no. Well, ask who it is. You know, if a stranger comes into my auric field, whether they're spiritual or whether they are alive, I want to know who the heck they are and what do they want from me. You know, maybe it's a kid selling Go Guide cookies, but if you creep up behind me, that's the response you're going to get. Because that is our fight or flight that comes into us. So ask questions. If it's somebody that you don't know, it's not an ancestor of yours, then ask more questions. And if you're feeling that's not right, shut everything down. But I want to give everybody something that they can realize that gives them control, especially with people that are what I call empathic. They sense and feel everything. That's not just spiritual energies, that's energies from emotions coming from everybody and everything in our world, especially at the moment. It's called putting on your gold. And this is something I do with my psychic work as well. That every day when you go and have your shower, because most of us do shower every single day now, is stand under the shower, take 3 nice cleansing breaths in and out, because amazingly enough, we do carry our own crap with us. So we let it go, we release it out, and then visualize the water as it's coming onto our body as being golden. There's golden flow going over us. And of course, we wash ourselves, we touch ourselves, we wash our hair, we wash our face, and so forth. And be in awareness of that golden water coming over your body. Because this is why I say to people, do this every single day for 30 days. After that, you don't have to intentionally think about it, because it just happens. A bit like now we get in the car, you know, I automatically do the mirror check. I do all that beforehand, and I haven't got to say, check mirror, do this, do that, because it's innately in me. What the gold does, it creates a protective barrier around us so that we don't have to have everything penetrating in. Gold, it bounces off. It reflects back. So if something's not ours to own, to hold, to experience, we don't have to take it on board. And this is really good if you're in a situation where maybe there's a family feud going on. And, you know, we've all been there, done that, got the scars, literally. That we say, you know, I don't want to get involved in this. I don't want to take a side. This then stops you feeling that anger or frustration or anything else coming from those that want you on their side or don't want you on the other person's side or whatever. So this way we can say, you know, I don't want to get involved in it, and we haven't got to feel all the backlash that comes. Okay, and the same within a work situation or something that is difficult. Like I always suggest this to people that do a lot of psychology work or working in an industry where it's a high emotional response. That if they put on their gold, it stops them getting embroiled or caught up in the emotion, the energy that is going on with the people that they interact. And still be there. We can be empathic, but we don't have to experience all their pain and anguish in ourselves, and that's really important. So do it for 30 days. After that, when it happens, you'll just do it. You know, I go in the shower and I'm doing my showering and not intentionally thinking about that I'm putting on my gold, but it's there within me. And it's also good if you're feeling, especially at the beginning of this journey, that things are getting intense. Close your eyes in a safe environment. Visualize yourself stepping into a pool of golden water, splashing around, sitting in it. It can be a water, it can be a body of water, it can be a paddling pool, but the water is golden. And every time we're feeling this overwhelmingness that comes into us sometimes, when we do this, what it does, it calms it. We don't have to be a participant. So going back to the evil, yes, I don't quite like to say evil. I call them disoriented or lost souls sometimes, because they can be, just as we can be lost souls. And when we're lost souls and things are frustrating for us when we're in this living environment, we can come across as angry. This is where I always, from my perspective, I always say, you know what? You're not to be here with me. You need to go home. And if we can't do that, then there are a lot of amazing people there that do what I call spirit removal. I can't remember what the other word is, but they are experts in their field where they can come and remove somebody if there's something going on in your home. I do remember visiting a friend's home and I said, "You've got a ghost in here." And she said, "Yeah, they keep moving stuff around." I said, "Well, it was their home." They don't like the way you've got it. So you need to sit down and have a conversation with them. That this is now your home and that they're welcome to stay, but they can't keep disrupting your household. So we actually did that. And she spoke to the person, the lady of the household. So it wasn't really an evil spirit, but it was a bad experience, because she said, you know, she'd come home and there would be books on the ground, or, you know, things that had been moved out of place, or lights that were on which shouldn't have been on, and things like that. So imagine the energy that spirit has got to create to do that. So I gather that now they cohabit quite well.
Wonderful.
And, you know, I always look at it this way. If we're, you know, there are some areas in our world that we would not go down at 4 a.m. in the morning on our own. we wouldn't walk that street on our own, because we're going to encounter maybe something that is not good for us. So if we set that in our intention that we are not open to receive that, that also is another indicator. And of course, please don't get this wrong. Some people do like to dabble in the arts, whether you call them dark or whatever you call them. When that door sometimes opens, it is hard to close it. So go seek advice from somebody that knows this stuff, that knows how to close that door for you again. And don't dabble there if you're not in awareness of how to close that door again.
Right. So for people who want to expand their psychic abilities, it sounds like the first step is the protection.
Yes.
And then where would folks go after that? What would they do next?
Well, here's the thing. There's lots of things that you can do for yourself to open up. And I call it opening up because that's what we are actually doing. And, you know, this is one of the things that I share with people is I'm going to give you 7 practices, daily practices to open your spiritual self. So meditation. Meditate for 10 to 15 minutes a day. If you can't do that, then start off with a minute of meditation. Now on my YouTube channel, I do a mindfulness minute meditation. Mouthful to say. And it is just 1 minute of sitting there and either listening to my voice or watching a video. 1 minute. So start off with that. If you can build up to 10 to 15 minutes a day, that's great. The more we meditate, the more we spend time connecting with our vibrational soul, the more engaged we get. So sitting in silence, whether it's listening to a piece of music or a guided meditation, you know, embrace that. Just be in that. And especially at the moment, you know, when things are quite heightened and can be stressful, take this time for yourself. And there's absolutely amazing stuff that you can download, watch online, so you don't have to feel that you've got to expand and expend, as I call it. Another one here is take a walk or ride in nature. Meditation doesn't have to be sitting down. It can be a leisurely walk, allowing you to connect in your mindfulness. Focus on your body as you walk. Or if you're driving, or, you know, gone out for a ride and you're sitting there in your car, because sometimes in certain parts of Canada, there's no way you want to be outside, you know, but we want to be in nature. So take your car to a nature reserve or something like that, sit in the car with the heat going and just focus on what is going on outside. Listen to your breath, listen to your breathing, and, you know, just take some what I call decluttering. And if you are out walking in nature and that's your form of meditation, please switch your phone off. You can take it with you for your photographs and the amazing things you'll see, because I'm telling you, the more you do this, it's like spirit go, hey, we've got them. Let's give them something to play with. And I do that when I'm out walking. I always carry my phone with me, but everything else is switched off, so I can use this as a camera. And some of the amazing photographs I've got or things I've seen, just because that's what I'm there. I'm in that intention again, being present, being there and being part of it. The other thing that I suggest to people is keep a journal, write down random thoughts, whether it's after meditation or maybe when you wake up in the morning, you're writing down your intention or how you're feeling or anything like that. Put it in there. Take note of your dreams. It's so simple, because the more we write it down, I look back at some of my journals that I've written years and years ago, and I'm going, oh, wow, I didn't realize of all this divine information that I got. The time felt like, well, what's this going to do to help me? Because sometimes we have an expectation, give it to me now. But it's something there that we can read maybe a little bit later on. Also, if you're feeling, you know, something from your dream has been brought forward, then write it down and see what then evolves through the day. Write down thoughts and ideas. Basically, you know, don't edit it, because that's the important part. Another thing I would suggest is through meditation, we're in that vibrational frequency that is elevated us into a state of awareness. So once you get into what I call accepting meditation as something that helps you rather than an arduous journey, then start to ask a question. Even if you write something down beforehand and then close your eyes and meditate, focus on that question that you're asking and see what your spirit guides and helpers want to share with you, because they will. So it might not be, you know, hey, Karen, don't forget you got to do the washing tomorrow, or don't forget you need to do this. It may be a sense. We may feel something. Sometimes we even smell something. Or there's like that ping that comes into your mind. You're like, why would I think of that? Doesn't feel like it's related to what I asked. Write it down. Because maybe it's something that we're supposed to sense and be there. Do things like when you're going to sleep at night, before you go to sleep at night. This is one that I say that I invite everybody to do, because this is something that is really important. Ask spirit a question. It can be in a form of a written down one, you know, that we write down. And then as you fall asleep, allow what comes from that. It's a great time to connect with those that are passed into spirit. And for that, I suggest that you have a photograph of that person, whether it's on your iPad or whether it's a physical photograph. Just sit there and have a conversation with that person as if they were still there. And then drift off to sleep and see what comes, because this is where we become the interpreter of our dream state. And it may be something like a Salvador Dali painting, as I say to people. You've got a clock tower and you've got a ballerina and you've got a tiger. What do those things mean to you personally? And if you don't understand that, go look them up. Maybe you see numbers, maybe you see words, maybe you see colors. Start interpreting what you're seeing, sensing, feeling, and all the other things that are going on in between there. The other thing that I suggest, hopefully I covered, I can't remember how many I've covered now, because this is where I sometimes forget. Get together with others of like mind and do what I call simple exercises. Now, one is if you're going into an antique store or something like that, or a secondhand shop, is pick something up and just for a moment, see if you can connect with that item. It's called psychometry, but it's a great one to do. Okay. Check out other divination tools. There's so many tools out there, and not one size fits all is what I say to people, because you know, you may be drawn to tarot, I may be drawn to doing pendulum, you may like crystals, I may like doing meditation. So go and check them out. And you don't have to have an expansive bank account to be able to do all this. There's a lot of stuff online that you can play with. There's a lot of stuff you can download. As you mentioned at the beginning, I've got 3 of my decks that there's a limited amount of cards that you can download and play with for free on a mobile app. There are lots like that out there. Mine's not the only one. So go seek them out if you're into affirmation cards or psycho. Create your own affirmations. This is something I invite people to do. Create your own positive. And you can do that by, again, pulling something from the internet, typing it or writing it out, putting it on a sticky note. It doesn't have to be anything expensive. Go to the local dollar store and buy some color cards or make your own and post them around so you see them. And as you see them, say them, because it's a reminder. You know, write your own affirmations out. These are things that you can do. Put a goal of things you want in your life, your dream state, if you like. Write what you want. And when you're asking for it from spirit, say, I want this, whatever it is, or something to my highest good. Because what we're doing then is inviting in all possibilities. Because, you know, I might say to spirit, I want a red Ferrari. Give me a red Ferrari, please, please, please. And spirit going, no, that's such a shame. We got a green Ferrari here, but she stated red. Put it back on the shelf. When we get a green Ferrari, we'll send it down to her. Now, I know that's very silly and very fickle, but I wanted you to get that. You know, sometimes we get so fixated on what we think we need that that we are missing out on all the other possibilities that Spirit wants to send us. So if I say I want a red Ferrari or something better or something to my highest good, what I'm doing is opening that channel up now, and maybe Spirit are going to send me down the beat up old truck. Maybe that's what I need at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I couldn't afford the insurance on the Ferrari. I'd certainly be very scared to take it out anyway in case somebody scratched it or dinged it or whatever. Maybe it was too fast for me and I can't drive it at that speed, but it's an image that I feel that I should have, because that's what people say, you know, you want to achieve a Ferrari and then you'll know you're really successful. So feel what it is you want and then put it out there to expand upon that.
Mm-hmm.
The more we ask, the more Spirit can help us.
Mm-hmm.
And be patient.
Mm-hmm.
Not one of my virtues. But don't assume anything is going to come in a nanosecond. Because sometimes people say to me, but I've asked and asked and asked Spirit. I said, but keep asking the same question. Keep asking maybe in a different way. Because once they know, excuse me, once they know what it is you're trying to achieve, they'll try and work alongside you to make it happen, or something better.
Mm-hmm.
So they're always there for you. So, you know, do something every day for at least 10 to 20 minutes, longer if you can, where you're inviting in all these possibilities into your spiritual being, really, because that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us more about your decks? Because I'm feeling that those are extremely valuable for helping people with their process and with their journey. And I really want to hear about more from you about your decks. Could you tell us more?
Well, I have 4 decks, as you mentioned at the beginning. So this is the Vibrational Energy Oracle Deck.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my very first deck that I created. And it's these beautiful, let's see if I can put these up here, these beautiful images and a word.
Oh, they are.
And there's a guidebook inside. Okay, so there's there's 52 cards, and all my decks are 52 cards. So
Beautiful.
each one of them comes with a guidebook. And what I do with these for, again, I use these for meditation, and I can also use them for what I call pull a card. So let me just shuffle quickly and then just pull a card. Oh, there we go. Wow. 52 cards, we get abundant blessings. Do you think that's a message or what? Like you saw it fly out, or maybe you didn't, but so that's the adult deck, as I call it.
Mm-hmm.
From that came the children's deck, which is the Vibrational Earth Children deck.
Beautiful. And
that's the one which is for either inner child work or for children from 8 years upwards. So there's some ethereal or magical little beings. There's lots of pictures here of children.
Beautiful.
And they each come, all my books come with a guidebook, and each one of these cards has an affirmation with a card basically saying vibrational children are. So what parents love about this is that they can play with this deck, and if they're using a deck of their own, that their child, because they're on everyday things, like this one here is laugh out loud.
Beautiful.
The one I'm going to see if I can quickly find, oh, this one. This one here is quiet hush. And this is about taking time to meditate and to have quiet times, just as we need quiet times. So parents use them in a way that a child can pick a card at the beginning of the day, and then at the end of the day, it becomes a topic of conversation. How did this play into your day? Were there certain things that you had to do or not do or change? So it invites in conversation. Now, both of these 2 decks are available as a limited amount, so it's 11 cards on a free download. So you can play with those for free, and you can go to my website and find that. So the affirmation,
and the links will be below.
Thank you. The affirmation cards here, this is my first one. I am vibrational, and the reason I created that one, oh, actually, I didn't. Let's quickly pull a card for inner child and see which one we have here. Oh, I love it. Please show me.
Oh, beautiful.
So again, that ties in with everything we're talking about.
Beautiful.
So the I am vibrational affirmation cards, where the resonance with the I am, because we're so away from everything that it's like we can't say I or me, you know, it's the inclusion of everything, whereas we've forgotten that this is our journey, your journey, my journey, and everyone's journey here. And sometimes we need to hear the I am resonance. So let me just quickly pull a card from here. And I use these a lot for meditation purposes, and these are very good. They can be the focus for the day and again the meditation. And it's card number 7. I am blessed to breathe in the vibrational universal life force.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So again, you can use this as a meditation tool. So you can look at the words, close your eyes, focus on that, allow yourself to be absorbed in it. Sometimes people just like to sit and look at the image and be to drift off into that. So that one's that. And the last one, this is the I Am Sacred affirmation deck. And this one is also available as a mobile app. And my mobile app developer has done it slightly different. You can download the whole deck, 52 cards, for 7 days for free. And then after that, nice. You make a decision. So let's see what that one is. And this one was to step on from the I am vibrational into the sacredness of our being and who we are. Oh, let's see which card we got. Card number 8, I am sacred and vibrationally powerful, influencing my own direction, which is again in perfect synchronicity to what we were actually talking about here. And sure again, is. They can be used for focus of the day, pull a card for the day, meditation, and so on. So they're my 4 wonderful decks at the moment. So thank you for letting me share them. So thank you.
Now, we're getting near the end of the show. I want you to take some time to tell people, I know the links will be below, I've already told people that, but tell us about how people can reach you, what you're offering, what people can reach out to you for, how to get a hold of you, all that kind of good stuff before we say goodbye.
Well, first of all, if you sign up for my monthly newsletter. I only send 1 a month. I promise I don't overload people with stuff because I haven't always got the time or the input or the inspiration, I should say. So I only send 1 a month. So if you sign up for my newsletter, which is on my website, you get a free downloadable I am mantra meditation, which you get. My way of saying thank you for trusting in me to sign up. So again, that is on my website, and it's quite straightforward. You arrive on my website, you'll see a picture of me with my arms open wide and twirling around, and you'll see the I am meditation. So that's one way. Every week, I do a weekly reading on YouTube, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, and it's Debbie, Vibrational Energy, Debbie A. Anderson, I think, or the other way around. You'll see this smiling face on YouTube. I do a weekly reading, which I upload. I also try to load something every single day. And I was talking about the mindfulness minute meditations that are there. So you can go on and listen into those. On Monday noon Eastern, I do a live conversation with somebody where we raise the vibration. I'd love to have you on, Karen, to come on my little platform to have a chat about what you do, because I bring people on that we basically have a conversation, and it's raising the vibration and sharing the positive. So that happens at noon, and you can listen live or you can watch it afterwards. There's no what is it, rule of thumb there. It's up to you. I'm on Facebook and, as you say, Instagram and Twitter and all of those mediums. So yeah, I always try and send people to my website first, because all the links to the other stuff are there, including the ones for the downloadable, the free decks, the downloadable mobile apps and so forth. I also teach workshops. I'm in the throes at the moment of working on some online stuff. I have one course which is available online, which is Vibrational Energy Therapy. That is a completely modular, work at it at your own pace, downloadable course. I'm working on having some live online workshops which are coming up, I think, in October. So there's a lot of things in the works. There really is. I'm trying to become more online than physically in person, but that will all happen again one day soon.
It sure will. Tell us your website again. What is your website?
It's vibrational or dash energy.
That's what I left out in the introduction. So say it again. I'm sorry.
So vibrational hyphen energy.com. And of course, if you're in England, it will be vibrational energy.com. So there's a dash in between it, and it's called a hyphen in North America, but in England we call it a dash.
Well, it's important. It's important because if you don't get everything down properly, sometimes you can't find the site. And I want people to find you, so that's why I'm kind of getting you to reiterate that. Debbie, it's been wonderful to have you on the Quantum Guide Show. And, we have so much to talk about. I think I need to have you back again if you'd be willing.
I would love to. Thank you.
Sometime between now and the end of the year, you can reach out to me if I get, because I've got quite a few irons in the fire, and I certainly don't want to forget you. So please do feel free to reach out to me. I know everybody is going to love getting your decks. I am so impressed by the beauty of the artwork, the way you've presented them, the information contained in.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I can't wait to get one. So, and maybe more than one. I was thinking too of the deck for the inner child. I also believe inner child work is really important, but what a wonderful way to settle the children down at the end of the day. Or again, as you said, set the intention in the morning. How beautiful. And so I'm just really, really excited.
Well, the one thing with the children's deck is they're very much based on everyday occurrences. So like ask for help, be respectful, knew something, do you hear the dreaming tree, love me lots, chores wars. A lot of parents like that one because it introduces the fact that the child has to go and clean up their room. Absolutely
fantastic. I really want to thank you again for coming on the show.
I feel blessed. Thank you.
I wish you all the very best. I can't wait to get this processed and up on YouTube. And I know folks are just going to love this show. And thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And I'll email you about coming on mine. It's just an hour. I'd
love to. Let's do it.
That way you can pick a subject and I just let you run, and similar to what you've done here with me, let me babble on.
It's not babbling at all. It's wonderful information, and we really need it. The way things are in this stream of time and space, we really, really need it. So thank you again. Take care. Thank you,
sweetie. Take care. Blessings.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to Karen's YouTube channel, click the like button, and share this show with your friends. Check out Karen's website at KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. All the links are available in the description box below. Until the next time, keep up the good work.
Splendor into endlessness puts all my inner strife to rest. For time gives birth to hurriedness. It all makes sense, well, more or less, and the sages put me to their test. With heart and soul I do my best to find the answers to my quest. I wonder and I must confess, I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. If this is all an illusion,